Hi, my name is Candace Metcalf, and welcome to my presentation on religious communities of practice. It was compiled by Pamela, Kaylin, and Candace, and I hope that I said everybody's names correctly. We are all together in an online course with Dr. Amy Kirk for Sociology of Religion. To introduce communities of practice, there is one forum that makes it unique compared to just interacting in a community or networking. Um, this is the definition that I've come up with for communities of practice, formally an intentional social space learning environments where people learn peer to peer with each other in person or by other means to have focused expressive learning bases or expressive learning based on exchange, relationship building, solving problems, emerging identity, and personal expansion. For communities of practice or religious communities of practice, it is very different. These communities of practice share common threads of fabric of language, belief, ritual, symbols, spaces, histories, and religious community memories that are used in a learning sense to transmit and carry on traditions and identity and or transform the old traditions into new ones. For example, one good example listed is when a new division of a religious center develops. So now there is an additional branch or church or religious center sharing the same thread of fabric in a new space. So new leadership emerges and has new challenges to take on the task of preserving or developing new content that fits with the model they seek to learn from the older established organization to learn how to work. To learn how to do so, they work closely with those who have experience in the other institutions. By reviewing different sites, these are the key facets for religious communities of practice and their purpose. It's to help transmit language, transmit identity, learn from each other, problem solve, build capacity, to engage and grow, to pass on traditions and mores, and to change and for marketing proselytizing, for gaining new converts or reaching out to maybe people who don't go to church or go to the temple or to the mosque. Building stronger networks and then establishing community histories or reflecting histories that already exist. Shared interest, shared knowledge and information, voluntary participation in exchanges, autonomy for change, and awareness of social needs and prioritizing and priorities, facilitating agency and communication, and prioritizing membership. So we have different types of religious communities of practice. The first being a natural community, organic or an unintentionally formed one. They're historically represented religions, and they're very rigid to changes. So their communities of practice will be more transmittal of traditions and symbols and iconography and belief systems. Um, so then there's volunteer communities, which is more mechanical, more intentionally formed, and even though it may be uh, more closely aligned to traditional religious institutions, there may be more room to grow or change. And so they might be transmitting these old ideas, but renewing them and forming them into new ideas and new practices within the community. So this brings us to more types of religious communities of practice, which is founded communities, which could be institutionalized formally, or it could be natural, or a little more mechanical, or maybe somewhere in between. It could be generally branded or corporatized. Our definition here is also a type of voluntary community, and these groups are often established by charismatic leaders, and founded religious leaders construct their religious message aimed at attracting new adherents. Membership into a founded religion is usually obtained by seeking, or by those who already adhere to beliefs of, or are seeking an alternative religious lifestyle away from traditional organized religions. The vast majority of these new and growing religious affiliations are now online. The internet has become an important altar for practicing and promoting their image, as well as attracting new possible converts. Here we have the Amish community as a natural faith community, as an example, how their traditions, identity, language, space, and location and norms are transmitted in their interactions. Um, they might do things more informally, like having Sunday Bible studies in the homes of their peers. And this is how they transmit those ideas. It, to carry on practices, of course, very limiting to changing current traditions. The Catholic Church is a good example of a volunteer community, in the sense that the way that they organize is more open. Even though they are transmitting the symbols in the space and the language and identity, um, they do have more interactions with others in their community, and they do seek out um, involving different members in different parts of the Catholic Church with other members in the community to grow and learn. Um, they are very big with community involvement and civic engagement as an ethos for the belief of service in the Catholic religion. And so those practices actually make them a little bit more flexible. Hi! Hi, I hope everyone is doing well. So here I have some examples of intentional or religious communities of practice. Um, I thought these were some really great examples, so I will just show you so you can see the screen and you can see me. Right here, this is Go Ministries. Um, Go Ministries I found online, and I have links on the PowerPoint for you. Um, and here you can see enabling projects that transform. And I find this like a very interesting community here. And I was reading on their page here, what if learning? Um, and so different communities of practice have different priorities since it's different groups of people coming together. And for this one, I just thought this was a great example. I just want to bring attention to this site. Schools, especially churches or church ones, have been very good at discovering their shared values. Often Christians will suggest that the difference for them is how you drill down and uncover their theological background. Christian Values for Schools.org.uk is a great example and very helpful. The challenge is that shared values may be very evident on display. A focus in collective worship and a significant part of the ethos, but what difference do they make? Enter any shopping center, and the whole experience is based on a variety of values and a particular view of the world. But no one tells you about them. There are no displays listing them. It is the experience that counts. The enticing spaces, shops, and places to eat, etc., draw the visitor in and scream out those consumerist values that are part of modern life. The experience is what matters. Okay, so of course you can continue on reading and exploring the site, but I thought that was a great quote to share. And then another site that I found, which is really nice, is the Jewish philanthropy. I can't say that right. So 5 lessons learned on how the URJ's communities of practice strengthen congregations. Of course, both of the links for these are provided for you on the PowerPoint. Here are some examples of best practices for communities of practice for the Jewish community for Reform Judaism. Pursuing excellence in your childhood centers, engaging families with young children, engaging young adults, reimagining financial support, and revolutionizing B'nai Mitzvah engagement. I don't know if I said that right, so I hope I don't offend anybody. So they gathered different information to see what best practices were for them. And so I thought this was kind of interesting for you guys to look at. But more than 75% of them have since launched pilots to apply newfound knowledge in their own communities. So this is a really kind of revolutionary community of practice for Reform Judaism, because they took those best practices into account for learning and have now transmitted that information to other communities, which is fabulous. So the point to communities of practice, of course, is the benefits of learning shared information and transmitting that and learning that and absorbing that for yourself and for your community and for other communities. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy reading this site. So here are the key points. It's easier to take risks together. Flexibility is crucial, and applied learning builds capacity. Innovation benefits congregations and the movements. Strong relationships enhance the work. And I hope you all go through and read each of those. All right, thank you. And today we have new religious movements and founded communities. Founded communities are those charismatic ones, or they're seeking new converts or trying to attract those who might be religious and away from church, or unmossed or untempled or unchurched, and trying to gain their membership. So these communities actually use more modern technology and more of a formal approach to communities of practice. While trying to research this topic online, there is not that much information out there, surprisingly, about um, communities of practice or religious communities of practice. Um, Altogether, we have tried to compile some data that represents religious institutions, but again, this data does not actually show how different communities and different religious traditions formally use communities of practice to organize, to develop, or change, or learn in their communities.